You're standing on the rooftop of your apartment building in District 7 in Ho Chi Minh City. It's late at night and the warm, sticky, humid air clings to your skin. Down below you, the city is alive with energy. An endless river of motorbike headlights flows through the streets, creating moving patterns of light. Horns beep constantly in that typical Saigon chaos. The smell of grilled street food, fresh herbs, faux broth, and strong coffee drifts up from the vendors below. This is your new reality. This chaotic, vibrant, overwhelming city has become home. 8 months ago, you made a big decision. You left your old life behind in the West. You quit that corporate job that paid decent money, but slowly drained your soul day after day. You left the cold weather, the constant rush, the pressure to always be climbing some invisible ladder. You sold most of your possessions, packed 2 suitcases, bought a one-way ticket, and flew to Vietnam searching for something different. You were looking for freedom, adventure, and a chance to breathe again. For the first several months, you actually found what you were looking for. You spent your days working remotely from cafes, exploring the city, eating incredible food, and enjoying the low cost of living. Life felt lighter. Then you met Linh. She worked at the small local cafe, located right on the ground floor of your apartment building. She was 24 years old with beautiful long dark hair that she usually kept in a neat ponytail, gentle expressive eyes, and the warmest, most sincere smile you had ever seen. Every single morning without fail, she remembered exactly how you like your coffee. Large size, less ice, extra sweet. At first, it was just polite smiles and basic greetings. But over time, those small interactions grew into something more meaningful. One rainy afternoon, you finally gathered the courage to ask her if she would like to have dinner with you sometime. That single question changed the course of your life. Your first date was simple, but it felt special. You took her to a quiet Italian restaurant in the Tao Dine area. She arrived wearing a simple, elegant white dress and looked visibly nervous throughout the evening. She kept fidgeting with her hands under the table. During dinner, she opened up to you. She told you honestly that she had never dated a foreigner before. Most of the Western men she had met in the past only wanted something casual and physical, and they would disappear as soon as things started getting serious. You looked her straight in the eyes and promised her sincerely that you were different. You told her you were actually looking for something real and meaningful. After that first date, things developed very quickly, the way relationships often do here in Vietnam. You began seeing each other almost every single day. After she finished her shift at the cafe, she would come straight over to your apartment. The two of you would attempt to cook meals together, even though neither of you were particularly good in the kitchen. You watched movies on your laptop, had long conversations about life, your backgrounds, your dreams, and your past experiences. She patiently taught you basic Vietnamese phrases and would laugh with genuine sweetness every time you completely butchered the pronunciation. On the weekends, you would hop on the back of her motorbike and ride together to Vung Tau Beach. You would spend hours sitting on the warm sand, her head comfortably resting on your shoulder as you both watched the sun slowly disappear into the ocean. For those full 6 months, life felt like a beautiful dream that you never wanted to end. There were no heavy discussions about commitment or the future. No pressure from either side. Just two people simply enjoying each other's company in one of the most dynamic and exciting cities in Southeast Asia. But beautiful dreams like this rarely stay uncomplicated for very long. It was a humid Tuesday afternoon. You were working on your laptop when you heard a soft knock at the door. Linh stood there, her eyes red from crying. She didn't say a word at first. She simply stepped inside, reached into her bag, and handed you a small white plastic stick. 2 clear pink lines. The world stopped spinning for a moment. Your heart started hammering in your chest. You stared at the test like it was written in another language. Linh stood silently in front of you, waiting for your reaction. You pulled her into your arms and whispered, "It's going to be okay." But inside, panic was exploding through your body. 6 months. You're 34 years old. She's 24. This wasn't supposed to happen this fast. You both sat down on the couch. The fan above you spun slowly. The rain started pouring hard outside. Linh finally spoke, her voice small and shaky. "I took 3 tests. All positive. That same evening, you went to the pharmacy together and bought more tests. Every single one showed the same result. The next morning, you took her to a small clinic. The doctor confirmed it. Approximately 7 weeks pregnant. The word, congratulations, fell heavy when the doctor said it. The first few days after that were surreal. You tried your best to be strong for her. You bought ginger tea for her morning sickness. You stayed up late reading everything you could about early pregnancy. But every single night when Lynn finally fell asleep beside you, the doubts attacked you mercilessly. Could you actually be a father? Were you ready to give up your freedom? What about your plans to maybe move to another country one day? How would this even work? Lynn was scared too, but in a completely different way. She started worrying about her family. In Vietnam, an unplanned pregnancy outside of marriage is still considered a serious matter that brings shame to the girl and her entire family. One night she cried in your arms and whispered, "I don't know what my parents are going to say." 3 weeks later came the meeting you had been dreading. You sat on a small plastic stool in her parents' modest living room in Ben Tan district. Her father, Mr. Hung, sat across from you with his arms crossed. He was a quiet, serious man in his late 50s who had worked hard his whole life. Her mother kept refilling your tea every few minutes. 2 of Lynn's aunts were also there, watching your every move. The questions came one after another. How much money do you make each month? Do you plan to marry my daughter? Will you stay in Vietnam or take her away? What are your plans for the child? You answered as honestly as you could. You told them you cared about Lynn very much, that you would take responsibility, but you could feel the heavy weight of their expectations pressing down on you. In Vietnamese culture, this was no longer just about you and Lynn. This was about family honor and the future of their daughter and grandchild. After that meeting, the pressure became constant. Lynn's mother started calling every single day. Relatives began showing up at your apartment with gifts and advice. Everyone acted like marriage was already decided. Some of them even started suggesting wedding dates. The stress started affecting both of you. One night, after another long family dinner, you and Lynn had your first serious fight. She was crying in the bedroom. "You don't want this baby, do you?" she asked, her voice breaking. "That's not true," you said. "I'm just scared, Lynn. This is all happening so fast." She looked at you with pain in her eyes. In Vietnam, when this happens, the man takes responsibility. If you leave me now, my family will never speak to me again. I will be shamed forever. Her words hit you like a punch to the chest. That night you went up to the rooftop alone and sat there for hours thinking. Part of you wanted to run, to book a flight and disappear. Another part you looked at Lynn and felt something deeper than fear. 2 weeks later you went with her to a private clinic in District 1 for the first ultrasound. Lynn lay on the bed with her shirt pulled up. The doctor moved the wand across her belly. At first there was only gray static. Then suddenly the sound filled the room. Thump, 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 thump. A tiny, fast heartbeat. The doctor smiled and said everything looked good. Lynn squeezed your hand tightly, tears running down her face. You stare at that small flickering spot on the screen, and for the first time it stopped being an abstract problem. That was your child. Something inside you shifted in that moment. The fear was still there, but it was now mixed with a new feeling, something protective and warm. The months that followed were some of the hardest and most beautiful you had ever experienced. Lynn moved into your apartment full-time. You rented a slightly bigger place with a small balcony. You started going to prenatal appointments together. You learned how to cook Vietnamese dishes she craved. Her belly grew slowly at first, then very noticeably. You felt the baby kick for the first time one quiet evening. Lynn grabbed your hand and placed it on her stomach. That little thump against your palm made you laugh out loud in pure shock and joy. But the challenges kept coming. Money became tighter than you expected. Doctor visits, vitamins, better food for Lynn. It all added up. Her family continued pushing strongly for marriage. You began the long process of sorting out visa options and researching what it would mean to raise a half-Western child in Vietnam. Some nights you still lay awake, wondering if you had made the right decision, whether you would resent this life in a few years, whether Lynn would eventually resent you. At 6 months pregnant, you decided to take Lynn to the Nong for a short break from the Saigon heat and constant family pressure. You were walking barefoot together along my key beach at sunset. The sky was painted in beautiful orange and pink colors. Lynn stopped, looked at you, and said softly, "I know this wasn't the life you planned, but I'm happy. Even if you're scared, I'm happy you stayed." You pulled her close, and for the first time the words came out naturally. "I love you, Lynn, and I love our baby. We're going to figure this out together." Now you're sitting on the balcony of your new place in Da Nang. Lynn is 7 months pregnant, resting with her feet up. The ocean breeze moves gently through the room. Her hand rests on her belly. Life is messy. It's more expensive. It's more complicated than you ever imagined. You gave up a lot of freedom you came to Vietnam to find. But every time you feel that baby kick or see Lynn smile when she talks about the future, you know deep down you made the right choice. Being a foreigner in Vietnam is full of surprises. Sometimes the greatest adventures are the ones you never planned for. Sometimes they come in the form of 2 pink lines on a pregnancy test. And sometimes they change your entire life for the better. What would you do if you were in this situation? Let me know in the comments below. Now several weeks have passed since that emotional moment on the beach. You are currently sitting on the balcony of your new rented house in Da Nang. The gentle ocean breeze moves through the room. Lynn is 7 months pregnant now. She rests comfortably with her feet up on a small stool. One hand gently rests on her round belly. Life looks very different from the free and easy days you had when you first arrived in Vietnam. It is much more expensive. It is more complicated. It requires more responsibility than you ever imagined when you first asked Lynn out for dinner. You have given up quite a lot of the personal freedom you originally came here to find. Your days now revolve around doctor appointments, preparing for the baby, and navigating cultural expectations from Lynn's large family. But every single time you feel that strong kick from the baby, or you see the way Lynn smiles when she talks about the future, you feel deep down that you made the right choice. Being a foreigner who falls in love in Vietnam comes with many beautiful moments. It also comes with hard lessons and unexpected responsibilities. Sometimes the greatest adventures in life are not the ones you carefully plan out. Sometimes they come suddenly in the form of 2 pink lines on a pregnancy test. And sometimes those unexpected moments end up changing your entire life in the best possible way.